They were newlyweds, the picture of happiness smiling with unmistakable joy. An Instagram post capturing a moment that was supposed to mark a beautiful new chapter in their lives. The bride, 50-year-old Rebecca woman many described as warm, caring, and utterly devoted, decided to share a single photo from their private wedding ceremony. A sweet gesture, an expression of love. But what followed was a tragedy so abrupt, so horrifying, that it left an entire community in shock. Within hours of hitting upload, Rebecca was found dead in her own home, the victim of a brutal homicide. And the suspect? Her new husband Ryan, a 32-year-old man who had always insisted on keeping their relationship out of the public eye. Why? Why would a husband who had just pledged his life to his new bride lash out in such a lethal fury? Was it truly because she shared a wedding picture on social media? Or was there a darker secret, a deep-seated terror that Rebecca's post unleashed? Today, we're unveiling a story that lays bare hidden identities, questionable motives, and the dire consequences of ignoring warning signs. Welcome to another episode of our true crime documentary series, Cautionary Tale of Love, Lies, and a single Instagram photo that spelled the end for an unsuspecting bride. Rebecca, known to her friends as Becca, was a 50-year-old interior designer living in Glendale. She was poised, elegant, and according to her acquaintances, a classic late bloomer in the realm of romance. Her personal journey had been filled with heartache and disappointment. By the time she reached 50, she'd almost given up on the idea of finding lasting love. But that changed when she met Ryan. He was younger, charismatic, and brought a certain thrill to her life that she had long yearned for. Some of her close friends said it felt like a whirlwind romance. It was as if Ryan had swept in from nowhere, capturing Becca's heart before she had time to catch her breath. Ryan was 32, with a lean build, sharp facial features, and an easy smile that charmed the people around him. He owned a small business, or so he said, in property management. He claimed to be building a modest real estate portfolio in cities across the state. Everything seemed to line up. He had money to pay for an impressive ring. He had the means to give Rebecca the life she deserved. And most of all, he showed her a level of affection she had rarely encountered. Friends recall Becca looking positively radiant during those early months, describing her as happy in a way we hadn't seen her before. She was eager to start this next phase of life no longer alone, but deeply in love. They were inseparable. Yet, from day one, Ryan insisted on privacy. He told Rebecca he had a deep aversion to social media, often reiterating, "Our love is too special for strangers to judge." At first it seemed romantic. He framed it as a testament to their intimacy, wanting to keep the world's prying eyes away from their cherished bond. Rebecca's friends found it odd he was a man in his early 30s, a generation that grew up with social media, proclaiming a disdain for anything resembling public disclosure. While they brushed it off as a quirky personal preference, some grew quietly suspicious. Why was Ryan so intent on secrecy? One friend, Karen, later told police, "Rebecca asked me once if it was normal for a man to be so guarded. Ryan wouldn't let her post pictures, not even with friends at a dinner party. He'd always say something like, 'Don't we want to live in the moment?' And she adored that romantic angle. But that romantic angle would soon become a red flag that might have saved Rebecca's life if she had probed deeper. They held a small, intimate ceremony at a luxurious estate on the outskirts of Glendale. It was a private wedding, invitation, only with fewer than 30 guests. By all accounts, the ceremony was beautiful. Rebecca wore a simple but elegant dress that showcased her classic taste. Ryan looked dashing in a tailored suit, exuding confidence as he proclaimed his vows. Friends noted that Ryan's family was absent, a fact that Rebecca attributed to complicated family dynamics on his side. Supposedly, Ryan's parents had passed away in an accident years ago, and his remaining relatives lived overseas, unable to travel in time. No one pressed the matter further. After all, this was Becca's big day, and she was glowing with happiness. Throughout the entire ceremony, Ryan's eyes never left hers. He held her hand with an intensity that guests found mesmerizing. If there was fear or deception beneath that charming facade, it was expertly concealed. The reception was modest. A simple lunch, heartfelt speeches, a small dance floor set up under a pergola. Between sips of champagne and bites of gourmet canapés, the couple's friends offered toasts celebrating the newlyweds. Some teased Rebecca about finally posting a wedding photo online. "Come on, Becca," one of them joked. "You look amazing. Let the rest of the world see you shine." She laughed it off, glancing toward Ryan for permission. He shook his head with a tight smile. To outsiders, it might have seemed like an affectionate joke, Ryan's disapproval masked by a playful grin. But an undercurrent of tension flickered in his eyes. Becca shouldn't have ignored it. The wedding ended without fanfare. The couple retreated to their home, an upscale property Ryan had reportedly purchased for them. It was the kind of place that radiated wealth and privacy, high walls surrounding the grounds, a front gate that kept intruders out. For Rebecca, it was her dream home. For Ryan, it was the perfect hideaway. The day after the wedding, in the early evening, Rebecca made a choice that would seal her fate. She posted a photo, a single snapshot from the wedding, capturing that tender moment when they said, "I do." The caption read, "Happiest day of my life. Finally married my best friend." It was unassuming yet heartfelt, accompanied by a flurry of wedding-related hashtags. Rebecca's handful of friends quickly liked and commented, congratulating her on a momentous life event. Hours later, that same post had garnered unexpected attention. Although Rebecca was not a social media influencer, the algorithm somehow picked up her picture. Maybe it was the romantic lighting or the sheer authenticity of her joy that resonated. Or maybe it was something else, something entirely beyond Rebecca's knowledge. The post started to spread, reaching not just Glendale or Rebecca's usual circle, but a broader online audience. Inside their house, tension simmered. A neighbor, who lived in an adjacent property and occasionally overheard domestic disputes, later recalled hearing raised voices that same evening. A man shouting, a woman crying. It was a stark contrast to the blissful newlywed image from the outside. "I remember thinking that honeymoon phase ended fast," the neighbor told police, "but I never expected it to go as far as murder." Shortly after midnight, police received a frantic 911 call. Screams, a muffled struggle. Then the line went dead. When officers arrived at the home, they found the front door ajar. No sign of forced entry. The living room bore the marks of a violent struggle, chairs overturned, picture frames shattered, blood spattered across pristine white walls. And there, near the foot of the staircase, lay Rebecca's lifeless body. She never stood a chance. Her injuries indicated a brutal attack. Blunt force trauma to the head, multiple stab wounds, and signs of a struggle. The medical examiner would later estimate that she fought back for nearly 10 minutes before succumbing to her injuries. A cushion from the living room couch was discovered soaked in blood and tattered. Pieces of evidence scattered around told a story of rage unleashed, a sudden, frenzied assault. And the prime suspect? Nowhere to be found. Ryan had vanished, leaving behind a horror scene that contradicted every wedding vow he had spoken just the day before. Neighbors described seeing a man fleeing the property in haste, climbing into a vehicle parked on a side street. Security footage from a neighbor's home captured a blurry figure matching Ryan's build. In the background, a woman's desperate screams. The entire attack, from the time the argument escalated to the moment the suspect fled, spanned less than 20 minutes. Detective Caroline North, a seasoned homicide investigator with 20 years of experience, led the case. She recounted walking into the crime scene. "I've seen my share of tragedies, but this one just felt different. There were wedding decorations still hanging. You see the torn veil, the toppled chairs, and realize this was supposed to be a place of love. It was surreal." Friends were called in for questioning. Most were in disbelief. They were so happy, so in love. Some admitted that Ryan's insistence on privacy was strange, but no one had ever imagined it could escalate to violence, let alone murder. The house itself was eerily empty. Rebecca's phone lay on the floor, screen cracked, open to her Instagram post. A single line of text was typed but unsent in her messaging app. "Please calm down, we can talk, Ab." The incomplete plea for peace spoke volumes. The heartbreak was palpable. Within the first 24 hours, the homicide unit declared Ryan the primary suspect. A search warrant uncovered curious details in his home office. Locked drawers filled with false IDs, scattered bank statements under different names, and flight itineraries to multiple cities. Clearly, Ryan was a man of many secrets. What was he hiding? And why did Rebecca's Instagram post threaten to blow his cover? Detective North and her team began to unravel Ryan's past. Much of what they discovered contradicted the charming story he had told Rebecca. He had no legitimate business in real estate. Instead, he was tangled in a complex web of criminal activity: fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. Several states had outstanding warrants for a man matching Ryan's description, though the documents bore different names. He was a ghost, with multiple identities, always staying one step ahead of law enforcement. One of Detective North's first breaks came from a bank in a neighboring city where Ryan had once maintained a safe deposit box. Inside that box were social security numbers not belonging to him, passports with different aliases, and a ledger of transactions that pointed to money laundering. It was clear. Ryan was not just hiding from the world, he was hiding from the law, and from those who might want revenge for his betrayals. Investigators speculated that the sudden viral attention of Rebecca's wedding photo could have been the turning point. Perhaps, among the thousands of strangers who came across the post, someone recognized Ryan's face. Perhaps an old associate or a victim from his past threatened to blow his cover. The moment that post went live, messages and phone calls might have flooded his devices, each one a threat to the precarious life Ryan had built. Newlywed husband kills 50-year-old wife after she uploaded wedding picture on Instagram. WHY? The answer was beginning to form. The why was a toxic combination of fear, paranoia, and a fury that boiled over. Every piece of Ryan's backstory that law enforcement uncovered painted a darker picture. Before Glendale, Ryan had lived in at least 3 other cities under different names. In one location, he was Martin, a part-time tech consultant who disappeared after scamming 2 local businesses. In another city, he was Alex, a self-proclaimed stockbroker who left behind thousands of dollars in unpaid rent. The unifying thread in these stories was his charm and cunning. He had a knack for earning people's trust and using that trust to enrich himself. Yet, murder wasn't part of his known track record. This raised another question. Was he truly capable of killing? Or had he been pushed to his breaking point? Investigators hypothesized that Ryan might not have planned to kill Rebecca initially. Instead, perhaps the situation spiraled when he realized how badly that Instagram post could expose him. The stress of a secret life. The paranoia of being caught. It was a powder keg. The wedding photo, was the spark. He lost control. As the days turned into weeks, a multi-state manhunt was launched. Ryan's face was plastered on local news stations. Wanted for the murder of his wife Rebecca in Glendale. Tips began flooding in. Some claimed to have seen him boarding a bus out of state. Others reported sightings in obscure motels. Each time Detective North followed a lead, Ryan seemed to slip away. This elusive behavior only heightened the sense of drama surrounding the case. People across the country were riveted. Was this man a heartless killer or a desperate criminal on the run? Rebecca's Instagram post remained online, a poignant memorial that inadvertently contributed to her death. Her profile, once a quiet collection of family holiday photos and design projects, turned into a digital shrine. Mourning friends and strangers alike flooded the comment section with condolences. Many questioned how such a joyous image could be followed so closely by tragedy. New theories circulated on social media. Some suggested that Rebecca must have discovered Ryan's secrets and threatened to turn him in. Others speculated that Ryan's enemies had forced him to silence her. The rumor mill churned, each new speculation adding fuel to the public's fascination with the case. In the midst of this digital storm, disclaimers popped up from fact-checkers. This story is under active investigation, they cautioned. But the public's appetite for sensational details was relentless. Amateur sleuths began to dissect every photo of Rebecca and Ryan, searching for hidden clues or anomalies in Ryan's expressions. People turned into private investigators, convinced they could see guilt in his smile. The line between truth and speculation blurred. We remind you that in high-profile cases like this, misinformation can spread rapidly. If you want the facts, rely on official reports and verified sources. And please, if you appreciate our thorough coverage, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. Rebecca's background offered no clue that she would ever become a victim of such a violent crime. Born and raised in Glendale, she was the only daughter of a loving, close-knit family. She attended a reputable interior design school, launched her own small firm, and built a life centered on her passions: art, community projects, and, more recently, charitable work. She had been married once before, briefly in her 20s, an amicable divorce that left no significant scars. Since then, she had relationships here and there, none culminating in marriage until Ryan. The age difference never bothered her. She believed that love transcended numbers, and when Ryan walked into her life, professing his admiration and respect, she felt she had finally found her soulmate. Friends recall that she started picking up on subtle warning signs but always rationalized them away. Ryan didn't want to meet her extended family. "He's just shy," she'd say. "He discouraged pictures, especially online. He likes living in the moment," she'd say. She tried to interpret his controlling behavior as a form of passionate, protective love, not realizing how dangerous that trait could become. Could Rebecca's tragic fate have been avoided had she recognized these red flags sooner? Criminal psychologists weighed in on Ryan's mindset. They suggested that living multiple lives fueled an intense need to control his environment. For years, Ryan had operated under different aliases, orchestrating elaborate deceptions to mask his criminal activities. Keeping his personal life off social media was a logical extension of this secrecy. To Ryan, Rebecca's Instagram post was more than just a photo, was a public beacon, shining a spotlight on a life he'd carefully hidden in the shadows. Dr. Elaine Porter, a forensic psychologist, provided insight into how stress could have triggered such violence. A person living under constant threat of exposure can develop extreme paranoia. The moment their mask is threatened, they may lash out in a disproportionate way, even if the immediate cause seems trivial, like a wedding photo. This theory fit the evidence. Ryan's meltdown likely wasn't premeditated murder, but a final, desperate act of self-preservation. Once he recognized that the post had gone viral, panic consumed him. He might have confronted Rebecca, demanded she take it down. But the photo was out there, shared and reshared, beyond her immediate control. In that moment, Ryan must have felt cornered, helpless. The result was an explosion of violence that left Rebecca dead on the floor. For almost 3 weeks, Ryan remained at large, a fugitive with multiple identities. Authorities pursued every lead, from tips about suspicious out-of-towners in cheap motels to reports of forged documents in remote counties. The chase ended nearly a month after Rebecca's murder, in a small desert town hundreds of miles from Glendale. Acting on a tip from a motel manager who recognized Ryan's face from a news bulletin, law enforcement stormed room 209 in a roadside motel. There, they found Ryan, armed and ready to flee once again. A tense standoff ensued. Ryan threatened to kill himself, barricading the door with furniture. Crisis negotiators stepped in, pleading with him to surrender peacefully. After hours of tense back and forth, Ryan relented. No shots were fired. He was taken into custody and transported back to Glendale to face charges of first-degree murder. During his interrogation, Ryan first tried to feign innocence, claiming unknown intruders attacked Rebecca. But the evidence was overwhelming his flight from the scene, the neighbors' testimonies, forensic data that linked him to the crime. Piece by piece, under relentless questioning, Ryan's story collapsed. Eventually, he admitted to attacking Rebecca in a fit of rage, though he claimed he never meant to kill her. He insisted it was a panicked overreaction, fueled by a fear that his enemies, people he had scammed in the past, would hunt him down once they recognized him in the wedding photo. He portrayed himself as the real victim. "I told her not to post it. I warned her. She wouldn't listen," he lamented, as if blaming Rebecca for her own death. The detective's response was swift. "That photo was a symbol of her love. You turned it into the reason she lost her life." Ryan's trial became a media spectacle, amplified by the same digital fervor that had consumed Rebecca's post. True crime enthusiasts, local citizens, and reporters crowded the courthouse, eager for every detail. Prosecutors painted Ryan as a cunning, remorseless fraudster who murdered his wife the moment she jeopardized his illusions. The defense attempted to argue that it was a crime of passion, triggered by psychological distress. Throughout the trial, photos from the wedding and crime scene were shown, further emphasizing the stark contrast, that bright, hopeful image of Rebecca in her gown versus the brutality that ended her life. Witnesses described Ryan's controlling behavior, recounting how he insisted on privacy from the very start. An emotional highlight came when one of Rebecca's longtime friends took the stand, recalling tearful conversations where Rebecca expressed guilt for ignoring her nagging doubts about Ryan's secrecy. Could any of them have intervened? Could a single question or warning have changed the course of events? Despite the defense's best efforts, the jury was not swayed by the argument of temporary insanity or diminished capacity. The evidence was conclusive that Ryan acted with intent, even if the actual moment of violence seemed spontaneous. They concluded that by the time he picked up the weapon, he meant to end Rebecca's life and protect his own criminal secrets at all costs. The verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. The judge delivered a heavy sentence, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, citing the severity of the crime and Ryan's extensive criminal record under multiple aliases. Justice was served, at least, in the eyes of the law. In the aftermath, Rebecca's story took on a life of its own as a cautionary tale. Her memory became a rallying point for discussions about the hidden dangers lurking in relationships. Her friends organized a fund in her honor, aimed at supporting survivors of domestic violence who may have ignored warning signs in their own relationships. They wanted to ensure that Rebecca's story would not be in vain. Police stressed the importance of staying vigilant about loved ones who suddenly become secretive or overly controlling about social media. While privacy can be a personal choice, they cautioned that it can also be a method of concealment, especially when combined with other suspicious behaviors. "We're not saying couples need to post every aspect of their lives online," commented Detective North. "But if someone reacts with extreme anger or fear at the idea of a simple photo, it might be time to ask why." Rebecca's tragic end resonates with our modern reality, where posting an innocent photo can have unforeseen consequences. We live in a world where a single snapshot can spread in a matter of hours, connecting us in ways both wonderful and dangerous. It's a reminder that digital exposure can pierce the careful layers of secrecy someone might build. For individuals like Ryan, living under fabricated identities, a single tag or viral post can unravel their entire existence. It also underscores the potential hazards in rushing into intimate relationships without thorough knowledge of a partner's past. Rebecca's friends were left wondering if they should have done more to vet Ryan, or at least encourage Rebecca to do so. Yet, it's all too easy to overlook the warning signs when one is in love, especially when the other party is adept at crafting illusions. Love can blind us. Secrets can kill us. Rebecca's funeral was a somber affair, attended by relatives, close friends, and community members who had followed her story. Mourners spoke of her kindness, her artistic talent, her unwavering faith in the goodness of people. They lamented the twist of fate that led her to cross paths with Ryan. Many left notes at her graveside, messages of love and apologies for not seeing the dangers sooner. In the time since her death, her Instagram account became a memorial page. People continued to leave comments, some from as far away as different continents, sending virtual hugs and prayers. It became a living tribute, testament to how a single life, tragically cut short, could still inspire unity and reflection around the world. For all the darkness that Ryan's actions brought, he couldn't extinguish the light of Rebecca's life. She remains, to those who knew her, a figure of hope, love, and a cautionary reminder that even the purest trust can be exploited by someone with dark intentions. In interviews post-trial, Detective North emphasized that Ryan's conviction was not just about punishing him for what he did to Rebecca. It was also about halting the destructive path he had carved in multiple cities. Who knows how many more lives he might have shattered if not for that single wedding post drawing attention to him. In a strange twist of fate, the very act that cost Rebecca her life also ended Ryan's criminal freedom. This paradox weighs heavily on everyone involved in the case. If only Rebecca hadn't posted that photo, maybe she'd still be alive. But if she hadn't posted it, Ryan might have continued evading the law indefinitely, hurting others in his path. It's a moral conundrum that remains unanswered, a puzzle piece in the tapestry of human complexity. Was Rebecca's photo both her downfall and a key to bringing a dangerous criminal to justice? It's a chilling question that leaves us pondering the delicate balance between privacy and openness in the digital age. Dear viewers, if this heartbreaking case resonates with you, or if you suspect someone you know might be in a precarious or controlling relationship, please reach out for help. Contact law enforcement, confide in trusted friends, or seek professional counseling. Remember, ignoring warning signs can have irreversible consequences. If you found this documentary informative, if you believe Rebecca's story can help others recognize red flags before it's too late, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Each new subscriber helps us continue to produce in-depth true crime content, bringing these cautionary tales to light for a broader audience. Your engagement could save a life by spreading awareness. We return one last time to that fateful image. Rebecca and Ryan, newlywed, smiling as though nothing could ever break their bond. A fleeting moment, frozen in time, capturing the joy that should have lasted a lifetime. It's haunting to realize how quickly that moment was shattered, how a single pressing the share button revealed a hidden truth that led to unimaginable violence. In the end, the question that echoes through every corridor of this tale is simple yet profoundly unsettling. Can we ever truly know the person we vow to spend our lives with? For Rebecca, the answer came too late, but perhaps her story will serve as a warning to others. Love, as magical as it can be, should never come at the cost of ignoring glaring inconsistencies. Trust can be the greatest gift or the most lethal vulnerability, depending on who you give it to. Always ask the questions. Always demand the truth, because sometimes a life depends on it. You've been watching the tragic story of Rebecca, whose life was taken so soon after saying, "I do." Remember, if you see something off, say something. Trust your instincts. In honor of Rebecca's memory, let this story serve as a warning that secrets, no matter how deeply buried, can erupt with deadly force. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more true crime revelations. Stay safe and stay vigilant.